for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Krause, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Amiditz, Mrs. Buckley,
Here.
Mr. Christensen,
Here.
Mrs. Cook,
Here.
Mrs. Dobus,
Here.
Mr. Means,
Present.
Mrs. Rule,
Here.
Mr. Spacuzza,
Present.
Mr. Workmeister.
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. I need a motion to adopt the agenda for business items.
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the business meeting of June 20th, 2017, and the regular meeting of June 27th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. I need to announce executive sessions held August 1st, 2017 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information, and August 22nd, 2017 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information. Staff report? No, staff report this evening. Student government? Okay. You want to come up to the mic and introduce yourself to us? Great.
Hello, everyone. I'm Haley Radcliffe. I'm president of SGA this year. So back in May, we elected 20 new senators for SGA and appointed 6 new executive board positions. And then over the summer, we've mainly been focusing on homecoming. The dance is on September 23rd, and our theme is rock and roll. September 22nd, the night before, we're planning for a spirit assembly, tailgate, and parade before the football game, and awards to give out at halftime during the football game, which includes the Service Award, Faculty Award, and 2 Spirit Awards for 2 seniors. Also, Powder Puff will be on Sunday, September 17th, and members of the Homecoming Court are going to be nominated on September 8th and elected the following Friday on September 15th. And in other news, next week on August 30th, 31st, and September 1st, we're going to be doing our homeroom representative elections. And that's pretty much all I got so far. So
Sounds great.
thank you.
Sounds early. All those dates seem early, don't they? PTA, PTO council? Anybody here from council? Nope. Solicitors report? Nothing. No committee reports. Public comments on agenda items this evening. Anybody on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move into business items. Curriculum Committee and Mrs. Buckley.
Thank you, Mrs. Cook. There are 6 items this evening under curriculum. Would any held out? Hearing none, I move under curriculum number 1, 2017-2018 Parent-Student Handbooks. 2, Independent Studies. 3, School-Sponsored Overnight Educational Activities. 4, Pre-K Counts Continuation Grant for 2017-2018. 5, Elementary After-School Tutoring Program. And number 6, the acceptance of foreign exchange student.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Items 1 through 6 under Curriculum Committee have been moved by Mrs. Buckley and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions or comments on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Personnel Committee and Mrs. Rule.
There are 9 items under personnel. Are there any that anyone would like to have held out?
Number 3.
3? Any others? I move items 1 and 2 and 4 through 9 be approved.
Second.
Items 1 and 2 and 4 through 9 under Personnel Committee have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions or comments on Any of
I
those
didn't,
items?
I didn't second
Yeah,
that.
number 5 and number 6, are, they were on my old agenda, but they were not completed yet, so we were gonna take 5, so I think 5 and 6
Oh,
were
so it's
removed from
really
the public
7.
agenda. and so-
Yes, they were. Basically,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I only had 7 too, but then she said 9, and I thought I was missing
I have
something.
9 of
we had 2 memorandum of understandings that are just underneath final review.
Oh, right.
For both solicitors, from both the union and the our school district solicitor. So those will be back on in September.
It'll be on in September.
Okay, you wanna,
So that might have been the difference there.
you wanna remove those, Mrs. Rule?
Yeah,
Wanna make the motion again to,
okay, so what, take off 6 and 7?
Well,
just
make your,
make a
make
new
your
motion, 1 and 2, 4 through
4
7.
through 7.
Oh, okay, I move items 1 and 2 and 4 through 7.
Second.
Items 1 and 2 and 4 through 7 under Personnel Committee have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those carried 8-0.
Item
And-
3 is the one,
Yep, we're back to number 3.
I move item 3, approval of staffing changes. Be approved.
Second.
Item 3 under Personnel has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That item carries 7-1. And we are up to, let's delete Facilities and Services Committee and Mr. Spacuzza.
I'm almost caught up, Donna, thank you.
Okay, oh, never mind.
My typing isn't as fast as it used to be. Under Facility and Services, this evening I see 2 items. Would anyone like any of them held on separately? Hearing none, I move the following 2 items under Facility and Services. Item number 1 is the change order for the hillside landslide at the high school. And item number 2 is the plumbing repairs at IMS.
Second.
Items 1 and 2 under Facilities and Services Committee have been moved by Mr. Spacuzza and seconded by Mrs. Dovas. Any questions or comments on either of these items?
Yeah, Dr. Pasquarella, for the audience's sake, could you give a brief overview of what's going on with the hillside and why we're having so many problems?
Sure. Obviously, prior to me coming to the district, we had the building built, the new high school, and part of that through the construction, there is some legal matters, so I won't get into too much detail on that. But we have had some issues following the completion of that project in regards to hillside that is located toward the back end of IMS. And so at this given point, we've tried to repair that. Now we are repairing that. And the change order in particular here is because some of the additional dirt that needs to be taken out and replaced, rather than moving that to another area where we could continue to have concern, I would recommend to the board that we actually take it off. Because what could happen is you could move the dirt that was giving you problems in one place and put it in another place. And I don't think that would be a wise move. Although some people think it could be done, I wouldn't recommend that because we could end up in the same spot as we are now in another area. So that's why I would recommend to just take that out like we probably should have, in my opinion, the first time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Finance Committee, and Mr. Spacuzza, will you continue on with that for me?
I knew you were going to do that.
I forgot to ask in advance. I forgot about Ms. Ray not being here.
It's okay. There are 7 items under Facility and Service Finance Committee this evening. Would anyone like any of them held on separately? Hearing none, I'm going to move the following 7 items under the Finance Committee. Item number 1 is the July 2017, August 2017 salaries and bills. Item number 2 is the June 2017 financial report. Item number 3 is the approval of student services contracts. Item number 4 is the approval of the cross-district agreement for special education. Item number 5 is the approval of the PA educators contract. Item number 6 is the awarding of the bus tire bid. And item number 7 is the approval of the site improved contract.
Second.
I'm sorry, for a second. Items 1 through 7 under Finance have been moved by Mr. Spacuzza and seconded by Mrs. Buckley. Any questions or comments on any of these items?
I had one, number 6 for awarding the bus car bid. We only had the one bid, and I think I found somebody that might do a bid. I didn't know if they came through. Did they actually do another bid for us or not?
We did not do it.
They didn't do it, so, okay. So we tentatively, in my mind, had an opportunity for another one, but we have to settle for one
We
bid.
didn't, to be clear, we didn't put out for another.
We didn't put out for another bid.
So when the bid closes, then in order to do that, we had an acceptable bid and we put that on. If you wanted to rebid, we would have had to do that again.
Correct. There are deadlines on
There's a
when
date.
bids are due.
Oh, okay.
And if they don't meet the deadline, then you would have to reject the bids and reopen the bids and re-advertise for bids in order for it to open it to other people who had bid.
But this is typically an annual item that we do, so when we post it again, maybe other people will have more interest. That would be the hope.
Yeah, I would like to see more than one bid. Sometimes you can't.
And sometimes it doesn't
Sometimes they
happen.
don't bid, so what do you do?
Correct.
Okay.
I just want to commend Dr. P. for making a phone call on the site improved contract. And do you want to tell the
Yeah, we
board
were able
what
to
we were able
negotiate a deal down from, I think you remember when we talked about this last time we met, it was in the ballpark of 7,800 to 8,000 or 7,500 to 8,000. So I did try to negotiate that down a little bit, so I appreciate that comment. And we were successful to get it down to 6,450 and 50 cents for this year. So.
Any other questions on any items under finance? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. And we have other. Mr. Means, would you take other for me this evening?
Yeah, there is one item under other, and I would move that student agreement for student number 4511 be approved.
Second.
Item 1 under other has been moved by Mr. Means and seconded by Mr. Spacuzza. All in favor of this item say aye.
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 Opposed? That item carries 8-0. We are now to the point of public comments on anything you wish to address the board on. You have 2 minutes at the microphone. We need your name and address, please.
Sister would like that.
Thanks. My name is Sarah Likens, and I live at 4942 Linda Drive. I am the mother to a wonderful, handsome 8-year-old son. On all outward appearances, he appears to be a healthy, typical child. However, he has autism. While autism comes in varying degrees, it is just a word, a condition, because you've had the wonderful joy of blissful ignorance, because it does not directly touch your life. To be blunt, you don't live it. In the past 3 years, I have researched, attended classes, seminars, lectures, and support groups. I spend 4 days a week with his TSS and BSc learning how to help and understand him. I have thoroughly examined his IEP and fought for what he needs. I have done everything right, and yet I have failed him in ways that I have only recently understood, both academically and at home. You see, autism changes and it evolves as they evolve. What's worse is you don't see the impact of your choices until they have become a permanent fixture of their unique routines. I have one autistic child, my child, not 5 or 6 of someone else's children. The impact of suddenly being responsible to shape and mold children with autism in 3 weeks at a detrimental time of their academic careers and puberty is huge. Mr. Lentz is certified, but even in his own words, he could switch with another more experienced, knowledgeable, and qualified, less tenured teacher. And while you are merely going on the recommendation of your employee, you desperately need to understand the impact of your choices that have on autistic children. As a parent who is not afraid to admit, I have made errors, and I implore you to look to another solution, or at least forcibly provide him immediate paid training so that Mr. Lentz can be the best post for these children to lean on and for him to have current skills to help him. Take it from someone living the life. You have never walked a day in my shoes, but please learn from my trip-ups.
Hi, my name is Meg Stefanik. I live at 1098 Sarah Street. This is my first time coming to a school board meeting. It's the first time I've been incensed enough to bother, and I'm ashamed that I didn't do it sooner. I moved to Bethel Park 17 years ago. We moved here because of the school district. That's why we came. We didn't have kids yet, but we knew we wanted our kids to have the best education. My daughter is now entering the high school. I have a son entering 7th grade. My daughter was so excited when she was picking her classes. There were too many classes she wanted to take. She said she wished there were 10 or 11 periods in a day because there were so many choices. But she had to make some tough choices about which classes she wanted. She gave up chorus, which she'd been in since 5th grade, and she's a beautiful singer. She gave it up because there was another class she really wanted to take more. She finally chose one. And she did not get it. She got a study hall. So I made one of the first appointments to go in and speak with a guidance counselor. The class she wanted has openings, but it was impossible to move her into it because every core class in her schedule was full. There was nowhere to move. It was like trying to move pieces on a chessboard when there's already a piece on every square. So, and my situation is not just like one person out of anyone. I spoke to so many people who were in the same situation where their kids could not get the classes they wanted, where they're having trouble getting into core classes, that you can't go in. The guidance counselors are trying everything. We were there for 45 minutes while they're sitting there trying to find a way to move her into this class. So now she will sit in a study hall and admire the architecture of the beautiful school she's not being educated in. And that breaks my heart. You know, I see you sitting there in front of the Where Futures Begin sign, and if this is how her future's beginning, it's just not making me happy. And I'm sorry I'm emotional about it, but you know, when she gave up other things she really loved to do to take this one particular class and got a study hall, that's just not right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Kroll. I live at 2211 Milford Drive. I'm speaking tonight because I'm extremely concerned about the loss of staff through attrition, as well as the transfer of highly effective, engaging, and experienced teachers to new assignments in order to eliminate positions. I've heard from multiple parents who have spoken about their high school-age children being unable to enroll not just in electives, but in core classes required for graduation. Some parents have stated that they were told their only option was to enroll their child in an online course at their own expense. Others, after over an hour of back and forth, were finally allowed to overload their child into an already full class. This is simply unacceptable. I sent my daughter to a charter school for kindergarten through 2nd grade in part because it offered full-day kindergarten, small classes, and daily foreign language instruction. I've since flipped her back into Bethel Park. However, my daughter will be entering high school in 2 years, and I again find myself questioning whether or not Bethel Park will be able to offer her a challenging and high-quality education. 2 to 3 daily study halls and limited course selection because there's just no room in those other courses does not meet my definition of challenging and high quality. If the superintendent and the board continue their pattern of teacher reduction, I will most certainly be considering options outside of the district, be it cyber school, private school, homeschooling, or moving out of the district entirely. I don't want a bare bones education for my daughter, and I'm sure many other parents feel the same. I urge the board to reconsider their decisions in regard to teacher attrition, reduction, and transfers, and to do what is necessary to restore high quality education to the students of Bethel Park. Thank you.
My name is Catherine Kroll-Schaus. I live at 2211 Milford Drive. I am speaking because I don't support the board's decision and putting Mr. Lenz in the autism support position at NAMS. I have a friend who has autism who is going into 5th grade. My friend needs someone who can meet his needs. He has trouble communicating. He gets really nervous and he scripts when he's around new people. He has a special routine, however, he doesn't like to tell people about it. He needs someone who knows how to get it out of him. I have known him for 7 years, and for the last 3 years, I was at his house for almost every day. I still don't always know what to say or do. Spending all this time with him makes him talk, but not enough to talk to a new teacher. He needs a teacher who will find his weaknesses and work on them, and I am afraid Mr. Lenz can't do that for him. I am sure Mr. Lenz is a great social studies teacher, but he doesn't have any experience to take care of multiple special needs kids that are new to him. I probably have more experience with kids with special needs than Mr. Lenz. I think if the board cared more about the situation and all the students, you would try harder and put more effort into finding a more qualified teacher for the job. Thank you for listening.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dokmanovich. I live at 3225 Comanche Road. As a Bethel Park resident for over 17 years, I've always entrusted that when I place my vote for the school board members that are elected, they will always be first and foremost dedicated to the students, faculty, and taxpayers of this community. For years, I've been great trust that I do not have to attend these meetings and constantly micromanage what I've entrusted you, the board, to handle with my 4 children. In the past, I've seen the positive, productive outcomes of my kids' education, excellent communication with faculty, staff, administration, along with a hope for the future. But now, after personally holding meetings these last few weeks with counselors, staff, and administration about the direction affecting my children and the education in this district, it is now time to address you, the board. First and most importantly, the scheduling is a complete disaster. The truth to this problem is the ideas set forth by the board and implemented by Dr. Pasquarella's bare bones ideas to micromanage every detail with the least amount of personnel is possible. We've hit an iceberg, and yet no one on this board wants to jump ship. Instead, you want to stay the course. We have teachers leaving the district, and yet district will not replace the needs of the students with able and functioning staff. Right now, you, the board, and the superintendent are depriving students of these opportunities to seek for the future. If students want to challenge themselves and take more honors courses, we should have enough teachers to do so. At scheduling, the guidance counselors continually stated to my daughter and myself that they have no idea, no authority, no direction, or do not know what can be done about certain situations. That is their job. They should be able to directly answer those questions. That is ridiculous. That is not to be throw their hands in the air and direct me as a parent to students and my student for online classes for me to pay when I am paying taxes for them to attend Bethel Park. And my ninth grade daughter is my ninth grade daughter going to be the first student to graduate Bethel Park Cyber School Academy? No. I'm sure every parent in this community isn't sending their children here to take online classes. And I've never debated this until the summer, but now I'm seriously considering, should I move, sell my house, or send my kids to Oakland Catholic or Seton LaSalle? Second, we don't have even enough principals or leadership in the high school to handle the size of our student body. Is Dr. Pasquarelli or the school board members going to be there on a daily basis to handle the discipline and general actions of the student body? I will move forward fastly, but I apologize. Lastly, of all the changes you and the board and Dr. Pasquarelli have made, you target the students needing the most cuts into programming with our learning support and special needs. This directly affects my child and children, sorry. Stop and think about this. People move to Bethel Park for these programs, and you are cutting them. We need to do what many other districts have done in the same situation when the leadership is not providing insight, creativity, and displaying a vision to move forward. With a complete uproar building from the parents, students, and community leaders, it is time to terminate Dr. Pasquarelli's contract, assign a current in-house administrator to reevaluate every situation of this district, and you, the board members, must seriously reevaluate your leadership as well. Or parents like myself and others in this room will take the necessary changes to make the changes necessary to put us back to being the district we were. Thank you.
Hi, Sharon Janisic, 4314 Anna Street.
I was originally going to talk about the autism support teacher position, but in all honesty, I can't top what Sarah and Katie said. So, and I've spoken before, and you know how I feel. I think it is more, we're a district who can afford to provide more than the bare minimum the state requires. They only require a special ed cert, and he has it. We can do better than that, and we owe those children more than that. And in my opinion, to not provide them with someone who has the interest and the desire, the training and the experience, underestimates the job of special ed teachers and autism support teachers, and it underestimates the help and assistance and support that these children need. I also want to bring up the para-nurse contract doesn't appear to be settled yet. I'm significantly concerned about that, as paraprofessionals are actually professionals. They're not moms who have nothing to do and come in for a couple of hours to make some money for movies. They work hard, they know what they're doing, they do the jobs that teachers don't have the time for and can't handle. So they take the children who have behavior issues and attention problems and work with them to help them succeed in their education. It is a support that those children need to access their education. The more paras we cut, the more paras who leave our district to go elsewhere for full-time employment with better wages, the worse position we're in. We seem to be in some downward special ed, gifted ed spiral, and it concerns me. There are a lot of people who, as you tell me frequently, come here because we have a great reputation for special education. I'd like to keep it, and I would like for people to move here and find that to be true themselves. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Darren McGregor. I live at 1407 Berryman Avenue. I don't have anything prepared, but some of this just really moves me. Now, I've been an emotional sport teacher in the local district for 25 years. I coach football, wrestling, track. I do student assistance. I'm a certified administrator, and I help out when things are getting tough in the high school, and we have 3 unit principals. I chaperone all these dances. I serve as administrator in these dances, and it's not enough. I can't even imagine taking a similar size high school and reducing administrative staff. It's going to be nuts at the high school. Now, I fortunately have a 22-year-old, almost 23, graduated through Bethel Park, very successful businesswoman out in San Diego. I credit that to all of her teachers along the way. I also have a 20-year-old autistic daughter finishing her last year at Project Surge with the help of like Lori and Idessa before her. Wonderful program going up to that point. Right now I'm thinking, thank God she's getting out. You take somebody with my experience, put me into an autistic classroom, it's going to take me a year or two to get used to that. I've written hundreds and hundreds of IEPs. I deal with behaviors that some of you people have no idea what really happens in the high school. And I would not feel comfortable going in that position, especially with no training. You know, here you go, here's your kids. It's deplorable. I think you guys could do better. I know you guys could do better if you just put your minds to it. These kids need more. If I didn't have that support when my daughter was at that age, she wouldn't be here when where she is right now. Her first IEP goal was she was speaking 2 to 3 word sentences. I can't shut her up right now. She's wonderful, 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 and it's because the program I grew up with and she grew up with was wonderful. So let's get back to that wonderful. Don't put those kids through 2 or 3 years of flux. Don't put the high school in a situation where 1 or 2 principals have to attend GIEP meetings, IEP meetings, 504 agreements. Oh, there's a fight. Can't deal with it right now. Not enough people. You have to deal with this. What's going to happen is the high school the reputation is going to go down, so is my home value. That's exactly what's going to happen. Why do people move in the district where I teach? The schools. Why do people move in like I did to Bethel Park? The schools. I'm hearing some sentiment. Why are people going to move out? The schools. We don't need that. Thank you.
My name's Stephanie Silman. I live at 5087 Sherwood Road. I'd encourage the board members to look around the room tonight. I attend a number of board meetings, though not all of them, and this is one of the heavier attended meetings that I've seen, and it's the night before the first day of school. In my mind, that speaks volumes to the problems that we're dealing with here, because I can't think of a parent who would not rather be tucking their kid in right now and reading them a story and reassuring them that they're going to have a great day tomorrow than be sitting here telling a group of adults that they elected to serve in the best interest of those children that they don't feel they're doing the right thing. I echo the concerns that everybody here has shared tonight. You know, the loss of positions through attrition, I understand it's necessary at times. I think it's gone too far. There are meetings at the high school that I personally have attended that didn't have LEAs present or were not available. That was last year when there were 3 administrators. Now we're down 1. What's going to happen to these kids and these meetings? Are they going to get scheduled? How long are they going to have to wait for them? There are evaluations that are backed up. How long do they have to wait for those? That means kids' services are getting delayed. That means that their educations are suffering. That means that their futures are at risk. That's not the kind of school district that I grew up in. I've been in Bethel for 25 years. That's not where I want to send my children. And I really hope this gets fixed before too much publicity is brought to the issue and people start thinking twice before buying houses here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Alkine, 2350 Wells Drive. I don't really have anything prepared. I just, first of all, I wanted to say about Katie. My son has autism and is blessed to know kids like that and to have children like that around him. So for that, I am so grateful and grateful for her heart for kids with special needs. But I just wanted to say, you know, I was here at the committee meeting earlier this month, and I left here absolutely disgusted. Aside from Mr. Christensen and Mrs. Dobos, you know, who called items out that should have been called out, you know, it really, you guys can talk all you want, but your actions are showing that kids like mine are not really your priority. They're not. You can smile and say the opposite all you want, but your actions are showing that children like mine are not a priority. My son is now going to IMS. He's leaving NAMS. He had a wonderful teacher, Mrs. Yakubik, at NAMS, who has since left the district this summer. Very sad that she has left. She was a fabulous teacher to several of our kids, but I don't blame her. You know, I wish her all the best. And this isn't anything, and I don't know if Mr. Lenz is here or not, but this has nothing to do with him. But if my son were to be returning to NAMS this year, I can tell you he wouldn't be going tomorrow. And I would be, you know, you're going to be listening to people talking about out-of-district placements. If this is the kind of priority you're giving to our kids, that you're just going to put someone in that position simply because you can and not what is in the best interest of those kids to help them grow and learn, there's no way that I would deal with that well. So thank you for your time. I hope that you'll, you know, consider your actions in the future and that they do speak much louder than your words.
My name is Jennifer Holsworth. I live at 2617 Bethel Crest Drive. I've had conversations with a few of you, exchanged emails with all of you regarding my daughter and what is in the best interest of her. I understand the district policy when you move from one elementary school district to another within Bethel Park. It's not that I don't get it. When you're talking a matter of a couple of houses, that boggles my mind. She does receive special services. She is a special needs child. To uproot her from not only her elementary school, but also her daycare, where she received pre-K counts, which this school board approved the funding for. Yet you only give it to only one daycare center is receiving it, and that is Tender Care. Yet the only elementary school can bus from Tender Care is Lincoln, which geographically is further away than where you want to send my daughter now to Ben Franklin. That effectively leaves my child with no viable option for child care. So do I quit my job, or does my husband quit his? Because somebody has to be there for my child to get her on the bus and get her off the bus. This is not acceptable. We have to make changes. I know you want to cut money wherever you can. I get that. But school is no longer a business. It's education. I have the option of sending her to a charter school, which you'll pay the tuition for. And I can send her to whatever daycare in the district I want, and you'll bus her from that daycare to a charter school. But you can't keep her where she's comfortable. I have to deal with the nightly cries all summer of her, I don't want to go to a different school. I don't want to go to a different daycare. And I know the answer is Lois Johnson, Lois Johnson, Lois Johnson. Well, for those of you in this room that do not know, if you receive CCIS and you go to Lois Johnson, you're getting charged an additional $15 per week per child, which negates the entire purpose of that organization. Thank you.
I'm Maggie Dogmanovich, and I live at 3225 Comanche Road, and I'm an incoming freshman, and I had Mr. Linz last year, and I used to hate history, and now I'm taking honors. And I'm sure you have a capable teacher that's taking over his place, except we should be putting teachers where they really belong and where they're making a difference so that students can learn. And he's, without a doubt in my mind, going to be best put teaching 8th grade history where he's been for the past however many years. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evan Welsh, 7012 Kevin Drive, off of Horning. So I don't think I would be standing here publicly speaking today if it wasn't for one man. That man's Mr. Linz. I'm a junior now, and he's still impacted my life till this day. He's changed how I thought about things. He's just made the world, great. I used to be depressed, sad all the time. No, he changes the way that kids think about things, and that's something that you can't just teach. You have to be able to give that, and he's a special man that knows how to give that, and removing him from that position at IMS will destroy many kids to come from having that experience in their life. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Falbo. Living at 1068 Sarah Street. We moved here in 2014 from Ohio for my husband's work. And I have 2 kids, one at Neal in 6th grade and a son at Ben Franklin, and we could not be happier there. After coming from St. Anthony's, where my son did not get a math paper, phonics, spelling, nothing for 6 months in 1st grade. And he comes here and he has a passionate teacher, like all these teachers are passionate because they are in this business to teach our children. And if it weren't for her, I would not have this huge box at home of the education he received from January to May to hold up next to theirs, which is empty. So if he can't make it here, where else is he going to make it? There's not a lot of options.
This is where he belongs. And I want to, when he gets into 5th grade, to have the same passionate teachers that he has now. Thank you.
Ken Nagel, 2647 Broad Street. I just want to speak to what everybody here is speaking to and what I've talked to a lot of parents, a lot of teachers, a lot of the professionals within the district about. There's a perception, real or perceived, that decisions are being made solely based on budgetary issues. Now, perception is reality. This perception gets out, I get a Channel 11 microphone in front of me. What do you think that's going to do to our home values? Special needs students. Parents come here because we have a great reputation for special needs. But I hear over and over again about cuts to special needs. Not enough administrators for IEPs. The gifted programs. Not enough structure and not enough inclusion. We need to change this perception. We need to do something to include parents, to bring the community together, to start focusing on the children and make the children's education, safety, and health first and foremost in all of the decisions that we make. I urge you guys to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Melissa Rooney. I live at 3975 Mimosa Drive. I agree with everything that has been said here. I just want to add that I wanted to bring to your attention how really awful the scheduling problem is at the high school. I have an incoming 9th grader who did not have lunch but had a study hall 3rd period. I went up to the high school to get him lunch. He needs that time. And he was willing to drop jazz band. He was willing to drop out of honors English, honors history, and go into regular history, which he shouldn't have to do, but he was willing to go to regular English. He was willing to go to regular history. He's not in honors geometry. That's his only non-honors class. He was willing to go into honors geometry. There was no way. There was no way. She figured it. That guidance counselor worked for 45 minutes pushing it this here, pushing it there. There was none of the 9th grade regular English classes had any seats open. None of them. There was none of those classes could he be moved into. There was absolutely nothing to be done with his schedule to get that kid lunch. What she ended up doing was meeting with the principal and getting him put as an extra. So now he's in a class that's too full. So now that teacher has an extra kid in a class that's too full. So I just wanted to bring to your attention how really bad that situation was. He should have been able to do something than being stuffed in a class that's already too full, considering all the sacrifices he was willing to make. He loves jazz band. He didn't want to drop jazz band. He loves jazz. He was willing to drop that, willing to pick up, drop any of the honors. He didn't have Spanish last year. He had it a couple years ago at a private school, and I didn't think it was good enough to put him into Spanish 2. But he was willing to try Spanish 2. I thought that would be a really bad thing because he hadn't really had any Spanish for 2 years. But he was like, well, I'll even go into Spanish 2. He would have done anything, and nothing would have worked for him.
Hi, my name is Tammy Lentz, 5707 Smith Drive. I just want to reiterate on the scheduling, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. I have a son who is a senior this year, started the process in March, went to all of his teachers, got he said, I really want to know what classes I need to take. They took the time, they sat down with him. My husband and I took the time, sat down with him. Then he went to his guidance counselor. The guidance counselor took the time, sat down with him, and said, this is what you need to take. Get the schedule in August. He has 3 study halls and an early release. Wants to take a computer science class, couldn't get into the computer science class. He wants to be a computer engineer. We thankfully got him into this class, but we're struggling. This is a mess. This whole schedule, they don't need this stress. These kids are stressed enough. They don't need it. It's got to stop. We need a better system.
Anyone else? Then I will move into board comments, and Mrs. Dobus.
I'm very concerned about the things that I heard from the audience tonight, particularly about the students not being able to schedule classes. This really is the first time that this number of parents has come up and to talk about this. I don't really understand why. I think this is a matter that really needs to be investigated, and I would like the administration to give us a report on why this is happening this year and it hasn't happened in years before. Also, what? Can't hear me? So also, having been at the high school as a teacher over the course of many years, I totally agree that there are not enough principals up at the high school, and I voted such when that particular thing happened. But there wasn't an opportunity for the board members to speak after the last school board meeting, so please excuse me if I rehash some old news. I believe that the vote taken at the last school board meeting to involuntarily transfer teachers was wrong for this children in Bethel Park School District. I have heard Chicken Little stories about how the sky is falling and that sometime in the future the board might have to cut programs if we're not careful with our finances today. I think that's hogwash. The decisions that were made affect this school year, not some doomsday scenario 5 years down the road. Yes, we all know educational dollars in Pennsylvania are few. However, the Bethel Park School District is in pretty good shape according to our audit report that we got in June. We haven't raised taxes, the school board hasn't raised taxes, and if you examine the Bethel Park School District's finances, you'll see that the district has some money in the bank. So why, when several teachers resigned from Bethel Park School District at the beginning of this month, did the board vote 6-2 not to replace them, a mere 3 weeks before the start of school? Those positions had already been budgeted for this year's budget, a budget that did not raise taxes. Why weren't these positions filled? Let me repeat, we already had budgeted for them. Well, they were filled. They were filled with teachers who are certified from within the ranks. And the results of those moves mean that we have higher class sizes, teachers who haven't taught subjects in 17 years being put into new schools and disciplines, and the AP European program at the high school being dismantled, just to name a few things that happened as a result of those decisions. We're going to have arbitration and grievances because of these involuntary transfers, procedures that will cost the district money. So I'm not going to discuss whether these moves were contractually appropriate. However, I will say that I believe a contract is a contract. And if the board signs a contract, we should try to follow it. Arbitrations and grievances cost money, and I wonder whether the cost will eventually equal that cost of hiring a special education teacher. Why didn't the district hire a special education teacher? Why wasn't that the administrative recommendation? Were there other special education teachers in our district for whom that task is a passion who could have been placed into that position? Because hiring a teacher or placing a passionate education teacher in that position would have been in the best interests of the students. I am angry. I've been angry for 3 weeks. I'm angry because I do not think that responsible education decisions are being made by the administration. Wait, excuse me. The school board made those decisions based on administrative recommendations. So I guess the fallout is not on the administration, it's on the school board. I've asked myself, who's the best suited to teach a special education autistic support class? After having taught for 34 plus years, I know that the best suited teacher would be one who has taught those students, someone who's trained to teach those students, someone who's passionate about teaching those students. So the board voted to transfer a social studies teacher into that position. How is that keeping kids first? As part of these involuntary transfers, the board also voted to move the AP European teacher to 7th grade and divide his classes up among other social studies teachers. This is a disservice to the AP students in those classes. It's difficult to teach AP classes. It takes a tremendous amount of work and special AP training on the part of the teacher to teach those classes. It's not a simple task. I know, because I taught AP English for many years. It's not a schedule for every teacher. Again, passion and commitment is necessary. I know the Bethel Park teachers will do their very best to teach all students well, but these moves are not in the best interests of our students this year. Are all teachers certified to teach in the area in which they've been assigned? Yes. However, reality tells us that usually administrators work to place the best possible teachers in positions that highlight their particular skills. Typically, thoughtful and compassionate decisions are made to schedule the best possible teachers for particular students. Keeping kids first, I'm not seeing it. Fiscal responsibility is very important, and before August 1st, I believe that the board also had the interests of the students as the first concern. I no longer believe that. I found out on August 1st that saving the dollars to not hire a special education teacher is more important than providing Bethel Park students with the best educational opportunities.
Okay, I've been mad for 3 weeks also. Last week we were directed by the solicitor to not make any comments on the teacher transfers for legal reasons. Mrs. Dobos has violated that 2 times. And she has also said, you know, that I'm voting against it because I have the best interests of the children at heart. Well, let me point this out to you. Mrs. Dobos was on the negotiating team for the union the last time it went on strike. She helped call for that strike. Did she have the students' interest in? No, labor. She's voted against every staffing change we've had this year. She's pro-labor, not pro-student.
Pro-labor can be pro-student.
Point of order, please.
Look,
Mr. Means is speaking.
have more teachers for our students than Mount Lebanon, Upper St. Clair, or Peterson. We still do.
Still do. Still do.
Not true.
Point of order. Mr. Means has the floor.
Awesome idea. Which one of you are going to break up once they figure out what's going to happen up there? That's what I want to know. Any of you? Which one?
Sir, you've had your opportunity to speak up. It's mine.
It's honesty, sorry.
It's honest. Yeah, honesty? If we had the same staffing ratios.
Mr. Means, we cannot have there was an opportunity for public comment,
and that opportunity is over. So at this point, it's the board's opportunity to make their comments. And so I'm asking the public to please stay quiet while the board has their opportunity. No.
I won't shush you. You heard this. You're going to be the one that go out there. You're going to put it on the teachers that do that too. That's exactly what I'm talking
Let's go.
Okay, I would like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.